I am become Death, Destroyer of Worlds.
You a bitch.
Hello everyone and welcome. Today I am answering the question, can I beat Elden Ring as the Grim Reaper? Alright, so this run is, well, a collection of several ideas, actually. I frequently get asked to make a video over Scythe as well as Black Flame incantations. Neither of those things are particularly difficult though, and together it would just be a regular build. So, I decided to add another challenge on top of it. Deathless. Before I get started, however, take a guess in the comments how many tries you think this will take me before I either succeed or give up. I'd love to see how much y'all believe in me, or don't. Anyway, for now the plan is to just beat the whole game without dying with only Scythe and or Blackfire, but that is immediately impossible. The Grafted Scion is a sort of mandatory fight. I say that because obviously win or lose it doesn't matter, but if my goal is to not die, then I can't just throw myself off the ledge like normal. But the weapon I have is very much a sword and not a Reaper stick, so I guess the challenge is over? Nah, I'll just make an exception and beat him normally, which is far easier said than done. I have practically no experience fighting this enemy, and it's even harder when he can animation cancel. How did that get past testing, really? Whatever, on the 4th attempt I get him, and what is my reward? Forced Death. Awesome, love it. I used the runes I got from him to put 2 points into Dex and then the third one into Vigor. Normally I would make my rounds collecting seeds and tears, but that takes like half an hour at least, and without a weapon I wouldn't want to risk dying and having to do it all over again. So instead, I think the smarter play would be to acquire my Death Stick first. There are 4 Reapers in the game, and 2 of them are available as pickups, the regular Scythe and the Winged Scythe. I didn't really think the winged version is very death god-y, so between the two I'll pick the normal one. The problem is it's in a catacomb, in Liurnia. What, that doesn't sound horrible? Okay, it's in a catacomb, in Liurnia, surrounded by those stupid imps. Awful, I know. Fortunately, this particular dungeon has several dart traps that do a not insignificant amount of damage to them. Wow, I am sure glad I put that 1 point into Vigor. Eventually, I claim my prize. Thanks to the points in Dex, I am able to two-hand this without a problem. That wasn't calculated when I picked the Confessor, it just happened to work out. Now I do my regular rounds of collecting things. The only difference is this time I have a bleed weapon, so I'm actually going to take out Greyoll for some early game runes. After about 5 minutes of slashing at her ankles, literally I dump half of those points into Vigor and spread the other half out over Endurance, Strength, and Dexterity. Oh cool, the game crashed. It really is Dark Souls 2 too. I decided that since the objective is don't die, upgrading my weapon as quick as possible to dispatch enemies would be the smart play. To that end, I take on the Crystallion, which is the first instance I have seen of the Scythe's critical attack. You put it behind them and, well, let's just say the Crystallion doesn't have a good head on his shoulders. My only issue is the damage doesn't happen when you rip through them, it's when you initially slam down. I mean, I just feel like it would be more impactful to see the big damage when you rip the weapon out of their neck. Ah well, this is why I'm not paid to be a game designer. Hello there, Insha. That is a very nice set of gear you have there. Would be a shame if someone took it. Time for the first proper boss fight of the run, Margit. Thanks to all my preparation though, he is insanely easy. I did notice that I got a lot of charged jumping attacks in, all within a relatively small window, and he still didn't stagger until he was almost dead. I'm sure that won't be an issue later. Also, I am the big sad that this critical didn't end him, as it would have been a perfect way to go out. I opted to go the back way through the castle, even though honestly it's probably more dangerous than going in the front, but I did it mostly because I wanted quick and easy access to several important items, the first of which is the Claw Talisman. Okay, that was satisfying. I then took a quick detour to grab the Axe Talisman. So while I take on Godrick, I want to explain a little bit about this build. It's not very good. Scythes are a really cool looking weapon, but they don't have a huge amount of damage compared to other things, nor do they have huge stagger potential. They do have this neat ability to hit around shields, which means in PvP you have to factor that in while fighting against it, but I don't PvP. It's not that it's a bad weapon, it just doesn't particularly excel at anything. I haven't tried the Winged or Halo Scythe extensively, so they might be good weapons, but outside of the Ash of War or additional holy damage, I don't expect them to perform much better. Mostly because damn near everything in this game resists holy, but it's fine. Anyway, back to Godrick. Oh, he's dead. Now I wanted to farm out the Grave Scythe because honestly I just think it's a better fit aesthetically for what I'm going for. And after about 30 minutes it dropped. It's more or less the same weapon but with slightly higher stats and a better strength scaling. It also has a neat passive effect of Racing Vitality which helps resist Deathblight, which is basically useless as Deathblight is exceedingly rare in PvE, but hey, I guess a bonus is a bonus. Back in Stormveil, I grabbed the Godslayer seal and the prayer book so I can finally start to cast some incantations. I can't actually use this seal yet, but that's fine. Black Flame Blade is a really cool spell that applies a damage over time debuff to the enemy, but it also looks like practically nothing. According to the wiki, the damage equals out to be around 2% of the max HP per application, but that looks a lot less impressive than it sounds. Still, the cast is extremely quick, so it's possible to apply it more frequently than a normal buff. The downside being it only lasts like 7 seconds. I end the fight with Black Flame, which honestly I don't use a whole lot in this run, it's just Dot the fireball. Renala, I have come to take you out, and also to kill you. Phase 1, not a problem. Damage is lacking, but honestly, aside from standing under falling chandeliers, there's nothing to worry about. Phase 2 is a little bit more dangerous, but I want to point something out. I started the fight by running at her and getting a fully charged heavy attack in, followed by like a half charge. Then I landed 2 jumping strong attacks. It was only after all 4 of these hits connected did she finally stagger. For avid viewers of my channel, you know I use Renala to gauge a different fight, and that was not promising in the slightest. It also should have served as a very early warning sign I couldn't rely on poise breaks, but did I listen? No. In my endless hubris, I ignored any sign of danger and pressed on. The next major fight, and one that I was very worried about, is the Draconic Tree Sentinel. To prep for it, I went and got the Ritual Sword Talisman, the Spike Crack tier for increased charge attack damage, and the Opaline Bubble tier. I also thought it was finally time to start looking the part. See, the reason I chose the Confessor is not only because of the decent stat spread for a Faith Dex build, ignoring the fact that I am now using a Strength Scythe, but instead for the attire. Of all the starting classes, I feel this one is the closest to what a Grim Reaper would look like. Mostly because dressed in all black and has cape, but now it's finally time to mix it up. There are a few sets that I want to mix and match, and I thought the best headpiece would be the Royal Remains set, but Incha never invaded. Like, not once in any of my attempts. Supposedly, all you have to do is have either half of the Dectus medallion and it's enough to start the invasion, but clearly that is not the case as I have both halves. It also apparently isn't going to Altus Plateau because I did that too. So, that's nice. Thanks Incha for ruining the run. Anyway, up in Golden Hill I go to the Sage's Cave. Eventually I come across the Raptor's black feathers and the skeletal mask. But the mask kinda looks like a facehugger from Alien, so I just go with the black hood instead. From the front I look like a 3 out of 10, but from the back, oh, that is definitely a good cloak. The chest piece also has the added bonus of boosting jump attack damage. Why does a chest piece do that? No, seriously, can some lore buff please tell me why, because that makes no sense to me. Alright, time for the Draconic Tree Sentinel. I actually horribly mess up the intro. I wasn't sure if I could cast without alerting him, so I tried it, then drank my physic, then didn't two-hand my weapon before attacking. I also immediately lost my bubble shield to a mistimed dodge. Honestly, just rookie mistake after rookie mistake. Oh well, I did manage to take him down without any issues. Next is the Capitol, and the only thing to talk about is this gargoyle. Normally I grab the seed and just keep running up the route, but there's a chance that he will snuff out my life like a candle with his breath, so to make sure that doesn't happen, I grab the seed and then reset and just go behind him. Why he doesn't notice me, I'll never understand, but it's fine. Time for Godfrey, one of the free fights in this run. Okay, that hit was just so the fight was fair, I swear. I'm very comfortable with his moveset, and while there is of course always the chance I could make a mistake, I play it cool and he goes down easy. I backtrack a bit to put Patches in his place, but also grab Margaret Shackle, then laugh as this assassin wishes she could get in bed with the true god of death. Morgott, your time has come. Do not make this harder than it needs to be. The fight starts off, well, not so great actually. I once again didn't properly two-hand my weapon, so I just lost out on some damage. Combine that with not really capitalizing on the shackle, and it means I just wasted my free openings. But that wasn't the worst part. Do you remember when I said this weapon doesn't have great poise break potential? Well, I got a little cocky and thought I could do the old 2 charge into a jumping attack for a poise break. I guess a Winchester isn't the only thing that can kill death. Time to start over. Hello, Grafted Scion, my old friend. You're looking particularly hideous today. Don't worry, I'm not going to artificially bloat the length of this video by going over every single time I die, especially because I don't plan on changing anything about the build. Now allow me to tell you one thing I did do differently. I got the Grave Scythe immediately, as well as grabbing Bloodflame Blade. At first I had only planned to use this to speed up the Greyhawk kill because oh boy does it sure put on the bleed buildup, but I ended up using it to speed through various fights. It's really, really good. I just think Black Flame Blade fits the aesthetic better. Anyway, bosses, talismans, style minus Incha because he still won't invade, then I clawed my way back to Morgott. I figured this time to really capitalize on the shackle I would use Bloodflame Blade, and it really did its job, proccing after only 4 hits. Then a second shackle interrupts his deadly hail of holy swords and actually allows for enough stagger damage to lead into a riposte, which itself procs another bleed. Going into phase 2 I switch to Black Flame Blade just for the extra damage on each hit. Morgott launches into his big 9 billion hit attack and things get a little dicey, but I keep my cool and just roll away and heal. Near the end of the fight I make a mistake. I meant to two-hand my weapon, but I slipped up and accidentally went for an attack, causing me to get impaled. That's fine though, he followed up with a charge swing that I've dodged 1,000 times.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I know it's only been like, what, 4 seconds for you guys, but this is getting to be a solid 2 or 3 hours per mistake. 6th attempt at the run, and 3rd try on Margaret is the charm and he goes down. You know, I really didn't expect to die to him, especially the second time. That one was just unfortunate. If anything, I figured the next 2 fights after this would be the bigger issue. Is that foreshadowing? Well, for as much as I complain about those fights, what do you think? At this point, I'm hoping burning the Erdtree will give me the Royal Remain set because every time I run by Incha, I just feel bitter. Alright, it's time to face my fear and take on the Fire Giant. Once again, I lead with Bloodflame Blade because honestly, that buildup is just ridiculous. Well, I say that, but watching back the footage, I actually only managed to proc bleed on him once during the whole fight. I knew he was close to a second proc though because I had been hitting him consistently going into the second phase, so I reapplied Bloodflame Blade and tried to get that sweet damage in. But this is where I made a horrible mistake. Once again, blinded by my desire for blood, I ran in when he started erupting, only for him to shit all over my day, kinda literally. That was stupid. Very, very stupid. Obviously, it's my fault for charging in like an idiot, but I'm also not lying when I say across all the times I fought the Fire Giant, both for a challenge run and just for fun, when he did do that attack and I chose to run under him instead of away, I only remember being hit by a rock like twice? I don't know, I always thought being under him was relatively safe during that explosion, but obviously not as safe as just being miles away from him. Anyway, what you're seeing now is not my next full run back up to the Fire Giant, it is simply the next attempt at him. That's right, I gave up doing it deathless. So, the correct answer for those of you that guessed was 6 tries. It's not that I don't think I can't do it, because I know I can. Across all my videos, I have definitely deathless each boss at least one time, so from that perspective, it would mean that should I stitch together all of my best attempts, it's definitely an achievable goal. What's that? Copium? I make videos, I'm not a chemist. Okay, I joke, but the real reason I gave up is because I just wasn't having fun. It wasn't fun to hard reset all the way back to the beginning, losing literal hours of my life. I mean, in the best case scenario, I gained a little knowledge of what I should or shouldn't do in a boss fight and maybe a funny clip or something, but aside from that, it was literally just a waste of time. And every time I did die, I would just lean back in my chair and sigh deeply thinking, great, now I have to do it all over again. It wasn't a huge issue when my deaths happened at the Grafted Scion, it's literally the first minute of the game. I mean, annoying sure to have to remake my character, but whatever. But happening at Morgott or the Fire Giant or Gwyn forbid Radabeast, then needing to remake my character, farm the weapons, recollect the seeds and tears, get the fashion souls, have Incha not invade for some stupid reason, it just wasn't fun. Checking the recordings, the whole thing ended up being 13 hours and 55 minutes. However, my final character playtime was only 6 hours and 50 minutes. That means that I spent 7 hours doing basically nothing. Like I said at Morgott, the run didn't change, and since I knew I would have this build and there would be no deviation, it was basically like the world's slowest speedrun. I was just doing the same motions over and over, hoping to get a good attempt. I am positive if I kept going, I could have finished this game deathless, but at the end of the day, while I love doing something challenging for you guys, I got to enjoy the run too, and apparently hard resets are my kryptonite. With all that being said, even though I have stopped trying to do it deathless, I was still going to try and not die on the fights to come, just to see how well I can do. I'll think of it like trying to set a personal best, and maybe one day in the future I'll return to attempt the true deathless run, just not under any weapon restrictions. Or maybe I'll go the other way, deathless at soul level 1 with bare face only. Oh god, please don't ask for that. Anyway, the reason I'm showing you the uncut Fire Giant fight in the background is because on this attempt, the one literally right after I died, not only did I deathless him, I no-hit him. I guess it's like I always say, F the Fire Giant. With him down, the only other mandatory fight that I was worried about is up next, and honestly, I had thought this one would be the run killer. I mean, I fully expected the game to pull some BS out of its pocket like the Noble growing 8 sizes too big and rolling through the whole arena, but it was mostly okay. Anyway, my plan was to take out the Apostle, then go hard in on the Noble with Bloodflame Blade, but the amount of health he has means I couldn't take care of him before he resummoned. However, with a bit of cheeky positioning, I can hit him while he's rolling and take him out. Unfortunately, the Apostle brought him back almost instantly, so I really didn't get to capitalize on anything. The fight was close in the end, much closer than I would have liked it to be, but death is absolute and they go down on the first try. Oh yeah, I burned the Erdtree, so Inch is dead and should have dropped his gear. I hate this game. Since I was leaning away from the deathless aspect of the run and just into making a strong cosplay build, I decided to change the Ash of War on my scythe. I don't normally do this as I want to use the weapon as is, but Black Flame Tornado, Black Flame Incantations, it's close enough really. It's also one of the stronger Ash of Wars in the game and, believe me, the scythe needs all the help it can get in terms of damage. I added it as a flame infusion, and since I'm going to be doing fire damage no matter what now, I also grabbed the Fire Scorpion Charm, then head up to Nile to test it out. I'd say it did about a third of his health, which is great, but obviously the problem is there aren't very many opportunities to do a full attack, especially with how mobile some of the bosses to come are. Ah well, that's for future me to worry about. The rest of the fight goes normally, and this time I actually did get the cool ending, so thanks for that, Nile. Then I thought maybe I should finally level up my Godslayer seal just because, so I used all of my runes to buy Somber 1 through 9s, only to realize the Godslayer seal uses normal smithing stones. Am I just stupid? I mean, I guess I should have checked that before, but I am thoroughly surprised it is not a somber weapon. Well, whatever, that'll have to wait, I guess. Albus, your time has come. Join me on the merry-go-round of death. In the consecrated snowfield, I fight the Knights Cavalry. And by fight, I mean lure very far away from the carriage so their AI breaks and I can get in free hits. And yet, I still get punished. I am so good at this game. Once defeated, they drop the Knights Cavalry set, which in my opinion best fits the Grim Reaper theme, except for the helmet, but that can easily be traded out for the Black Hood. The problem is that it's really heavy and I have put nothing into endurance, so for the time being I have to mix and match it with the Assassin set. General Radahn, I heard you were the best demigod, but it is time to go. I was able to get him before he phase transitioned, but not without him showing me that he knew how to use instant transmission. Okay, so the reason I fought him now was just for Alexander. Unfortunately, I have already taken out the Fire Giant, which I believe means if he leaves this place, he'll just disappear into the wind, so unfortunately, I cannot give him the proper end to his quest. With the Warrior Jar Shard, my spinning Death Sticks damage is increased by 10%, which will have some niche uses later. Down in Nokron, I challenged the Mimic to a duel, but joke's on him, we're actually playing melee with how much hit stun this attack causes. I actually came down here for the Black Wet Blade thinking I could put a bleed-infused Black Flame Tornado on my weapon, but that's not how it works, apparently. I then went and grabbed the Twin Blade Talisman. This little trinket boosts the final hit of chain attacks. I'm not sure if that applies to the Ash of War or not, but there aren't a whole lot of other options to help the Scythe out in damage, so I'll take it. Next, I figured since I was doing fire damage, I could get the Flame Shroud and Crack Tier, and this poor Putrid Avatar didn't know what hit him. Then, back in Ordina, I took on this other Putrid Avatar because I thought that maybe the Thornate Crack Tier would help, but it turns out that successive attack buffs don't apply to Black Flame Tornado. Ah well, it's fine, I still got 160,000 runes out of it, so that's cool. Finally, I did something that I haven't done since my very first playthrough, and that's get Godrick's Great Rune. Since I was still trying to not die, this would literally just be a solid +5 bonus to all of my stats indefinitely. Sure, it would be great for the increased damage, but also +5 extra endurance is exactly what I need to wear the Knights Cavalry set. 666 damage, huh? Well, that is fitting, but I want more. I thought it would be fun to test out my new upgrades on Placiduous Axe. Guess I'm using the word upgrade wrong. The reason I picked this boss is just because I knew he had several openings for me to spin to win, and I wanted to see how much damage that does. Okay, that is much better. It was so good in fact that I was able to do it twice before he could even take off and fire his big laser at me. Thanks for the demonstration, Placiduous Axe, same time next week, okay? Malekith was another one of those fights that I was pretty comfortable doing, but he could absolutely rip me to pieces if I let him. Phase 1 starts off pretty strong. I actually get the riposte into Phase 2, which normally is a bad thing, but since I was standing in the center of the arena, it allowed for a quick follow-up. At the end of the fight, he did his plunging attack not once, but twice, and I absolutely hate this move because sometimes dodging the blade is weirdly hard. But in this case, I am successfully able to get out of the way, and Malekith goes down. Hitless, actually, so that's neat. Where was this skill when I needed it earlier? With his runes, I was able to upgrade my Godslayer seal to a +24. Did I end up using it a lot? No. But was it cool to have it there? You bet it was. Hello, Gideon. You have no idea how satisfying this is going to be. I thought about opening with a backstab because who doesn't want to do that to him, but couldn't resist the call of a free Black Flame Tornado. He then proceeds to roll into a second one and just... his monologue lasted longer than the whole fight did. Godfrey is up next, and unfortunately I didn't hitless him. He managed to land one blow right at the start, but honestly that is like the last active frame of that attack, I swear. It's fine though, because like I said earlier, I am very comfortable with this fight. Poor Alou, on the other hand, is a little more crazy. I had thought I'd have enough time to use my tornado while he was charging up, but he was able to stomp me out of it. Then I thought surely one more hit is enough to kill him. It wasn't, but we traded blows and I had enough health to survive a foot to the face, so it's fine. Radagon has absolutely no resistance to fire, so this is gonna be easy. Sure would be easier if I didn't miss my attacks though. There isn't much to talk about here. This is one of my favorite bosses, so I didn't expect to have an issue. Elden Beast, on the other hand, well, I also didn't expect to have an issue because of how big and slow he is, but he did make sure to run away from me a lot, so the fight lasted literally 4.5 times longer than Radagon did. But it's fine, I'm not mad. You can't outrun death, you oversized space well god thing, and eventually I have beaten Elden Ring as the Grim Reaper and mostly deathless. But there are a few more bosses whose days are numbered, so I think it's time I take their souls. Also, I just want to add something here. Between the Fire Giant and finishing the game, I didn't die once, meaning that single death to the Fire Giant was the only thing that stopped me from beating the game deathless. Honestly, just the Fire Giant. I make a quick stop to show Eleonora how to really spin the wind, then dive into the sewers to get Mohg Shackle. I picked him first because I think he's really easy for the insane amount of runes he gives. That being said, he is the very resistant to fire, so I actually swapped off the flame scaling of my weapon. However, I think Black Flame Tornado deals fire damage regardless, but yeah, you could have fooled me that he's resistant to it. I wasn't able to kill him before he phase transitioned, but that's fine. His phase 2 is just the same, but more blood. And with that, Mo goes down on the first try. I then thought, why not go from a boss that is hilariously resistant to fire to one that is laughably weak to it, so it's time to cook up some undead venison. I don't think I could have one-shot him even if he didn't knock me out of it, but it would have been close. I mean, look at how much damage I can do with a single jumping attack. And to the surprise of absolutely no one, this boss goes down on the first try as well. I then thought I didn't get enough of one fire-resistant enemy, so I figured why not do it again? And I mean literally the same thing. Surmogue, I hope you're ready to be toast. Again. I didn't even bother changing my infusion because, well, honestly, that is how little I feared him, and my lack of fear was correct. I actually no-hit this version of it. Hey, y'all want to hear a funny joke? Fia's champions. Actually, the joke is on me because I, once again, forgot to set up Fia's questline before coming here. Oops. That means Loretta is up next, and now I have a question for all of you. Did I no-hit this fight? So at the end of the fight, she unsurprisingly died, and by that I mean her health bar was reduced to 0, but then I got hit by her magical floating swords, and then the victory achieved screen showed up. So I'm curious to know what everyone thinks, because I don't know what the official ruling is. Was it a no-hit because she died before I took damage, or not because I got hit regardless of her being alive? Anyway, while we ponder the meaning of to hit or not to hit, I talked to Lady Ronnie, who is so amazed by my death-like appearance she asked me to go get her a dagger. How is that related? Beats me, but it has the word Slayer in the name, so I'm on board. I grab it and return to her, but accidentally got sidetracked and found myself in the most deliciously evil of places, the Rot Swamp. This must be where all the bad Tarnish go after they die. Okay, but wait, I made that joke, but like, could you imagine if in a future game there was a hell-like level and it's where all the devious invaders went, kind of like how in Dark Souls 1 and 2 they were considered sinners? Or what about bosses and NPCs that were just evil and that the player killed? That'd be kind of neat, actually. Anyway, at the end of the zone is Estelle, the Space Scorpion. This was a case of I have so much health, I literally don't care what he does, and I just face tank his attacks while trying to teach him about the Wizard of Oz. Black Flame Tornado is absolutely ridiculous. I take the Magic Express back to Liurnia, flip the tower upside down, grab the Curse Mark of Death, then meet the Night Mother. I'm not a very good listener though, so I just smile and nod as she tells me her plan. Fortisax isn't a hard fight, but in this particular instance, he spent as much time in the air as he did on the ground, so that was obnoxious. I decided to end it with Black Flame, which honestly I kind of forgot I had after the Godskin duo. Oh hey, the Mending Rune of Death. That would have been an appropriate ending. Sure wish I had thought of that one sooner. Anyway, now only 2 bosses remain, and I figured Malenia would be easier than Rykard just because Rykard isn't designed to be fought in melee range, so I went after her first. Which means it's time to take out Loretta 2.0, and I won't lie, she was actually getting a few good shots in. I mean, that's mostly because I was throwing caution to the wind and just kept going at her when I shouldn't have. At the end of the fight, she wanted to show me her cool spinning attack, but I said mine was better, and she goes down on the first try. Alright, Malenia time. I have fought this boss hundreds of times, maybe even north of 1,000, I don't know. So I know her moveset pretty well, but there is always a chance she will just flip on the wind switch, and in this case, she did, not once, but twice. The first instance was a case of me not knowing my weapon's limitations. See, I thought she would be staggered long enough to get off the final explosion, but she wasn't and decided to waterfowl me at point blank range while I had no stamina left. So, yeah, that's cool. The second time was a skill issue. I improperly dodged her phantom attacks and got roll caught. It's amazing how easy it is to die with just one simple mistake. Anyway, on my third try, I channeled my inner Rivers of Blood user and just couldn't resist hitting L2, but I waited until I was sure she would die from it, and she goes down. On the way to Rykard, I had to take out the Godskin Noble, and I just want to show you something that was funny to me. Here, I thought I was all cool hitting him through the pillar, but I forgot you step forward for the final hit of this animation, and he got me back. At the end of the fight, he tried to roll out again, but Black Flame Tornado basically puts up a damaging wall and just canceled it out. Had he had more health, that wouldn't have worked, but whose fault is it that he had so little health? Oh right, it was mine. Anyway, on to the Snake God. I'd originally thought to remove the Flame Infusion and just go hard with Blood Flame Blade, but I am so lazy I couldn't take the 15 seconds to do that and decided I would just try as is. Which is stupid because Rykard is 80% resistant to fire. But Black Flame Tornado go burr. I was mostly just worried that the lava would stagger me out of the animation, and it did a couple times, but other times I would take a hit and not get staggered. I don't really understand how poise works in this game. Anyway, phase 1 wasn't that hard. Rykard really doesn't know how to handle it when you stand in his lava and he just occasionally spins in place. The beginning of phase 2 is always a bit of a pain. Rykard frequently jumps away, and as this isn't armored core, I'm not equipped to hit flying targets. Beyond that, he will occasionally attack, and most of the time the animation lifts him high enough for my swings to miss, but the scythe actually has just enough range to connect, at least semi-regularly when that happens. At about half health, he becomes way more aggressive, which makes the fight much easier because he keeps trying to attack me, thus moving closer to me and ensuring my attacks land more reliably. At some point, I ended up sandwiched between him and a wall, and since he isn't Millicent, I didn't want to be there, but it made it really easy to hit Black Flame Tornado, absolutely obliterating his health bar. And before long, the Undying Serpent is defeated, and the run is finished. 3 deaths aren't bad, especially since only one of them was during a mandatory fight. Maybe one day I'll try again, but for now, thank you everyone for watching, and an extra special thanks to my patrons. Stay beautiful, y'all. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribing. It really helps the channel out, and why not check out the time I beat Elden Ring without using the camera? It was surprisingly more difficult than you think. But until next time, my friends, don't you dare go hollow.